Hi, and welcome back to Free for All Friday on Focal Point. Brian Fisher is my name. Number to call, 888-589-8840. Talk about anything that you want to talk about as long as it's been in the news or on this program in this past week. So if we've talked about it or it's been in the news, be glad to have a conversation about that. 888-589-8840. Free for All Friday. Casual Friday, as you can tell by the fact I'm wearing a rugby shirt on the set today. Now, this is interesting to me. Let's grab clip number 6, Rob. There's a website called PolitiFact that's run by a guy named Glenn Kessler, and this guy considers himself the ultimate fact checker. So when politicians make a statement, I got interviewed by somebody yesterday for a companion website called Pundit Fact. They check the statements that pundits make, and so they'd heard that I'd said that the focus of the First Amendment, the purpose of the First Amendment was to protect the free exercise of Christianity. That's all they were dealing with. And so I got a call from them. They want to check. They're going to do a fact check. And because it's a liberal website, they'll probably give me several Pinocchios. Anyways, PolitiFact, they just go out there and they evaluate and assess what politicians say in terms of whether they were speaking the truth or not. And they have, every year, they give a Lie of the Year award. In other words, look at the whole year, all of 2013. Who told the biggest whopper? Who told the liar, liar, pants on fire Lie of the Year award? They released their results yesterday, their award winner yesterday, and here is Jake Tapper of CNN to give us the results.
So here it is, by popular demand, the number one lie of the year, based on something the president first said in 2009 and then updated in 2013.
If you like your health care plan, you can keep your health care plan. What we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
So this was a runaway favorite with readers. 59% voted for this as lie of the year.
Yeah. The editors of PolitiFact selected this because it had the most impact on the national debate. It's something we first flagged back in 2009. We said this is partly right. The health care law does leave in place the existing health care system, but it's partly wrong because we knew back then not everybody would be able to keep their health care plan. And this was the year that it was proved false as these cancellation letters went out.
You know, that's interesting because now they're trying to give, in fact, really, PolitiFact ought to give itself the award for the Lie of the Year because they're saying, hey, we flagged this in 2009. I want to read an excerpt from what PolitiFact said on October 7 of 2008, where they're talking about President Obama saying, let me repeat, if you've got a health care plan that you like, you can keep it. And here's their concluding evaluation. We rate his statement true. So now they're calling it the Lie of the Year, and they claim they're the people who are the fact checkers. They can call them as they see them. They'll bust them down for telling a lie. Well, they rated it as true in 2008. But anyway, this is a liberal website. CNN is a liberal news site. They are rating what Barack Obama said about you like your plan, you can keep it, as the Lie of the Year. Now, very quickly, let's grab clips 2, 3, and 4, Rob, if we can. Now, I'm going to play, first of all, this has to do with ESPN and an ad that ESPN banned. This will be clip number 2, and we've got 3 clips altogether here. Here is the clip. This is the ad that ESPN banned. They said, we can't air this thing. It's too objectionable. It's just too outrageous. It is too inflammatory, too incendiary. We can't play this ad on ESPN. Here is the ad. Let's listen.
Each Christmas, thousands in our community send messages of hope to sick and injured children who may not be able to come home for the holidays. At SSM Cardinal Glennon Children's Medical Center, we celebrate the birth of Jesus and the season of giving, bringing hope to the many children, parents, and families that we serve. Our patients are filled with hope as they receive a message each day from the treasure chest beneath our tree of hope.
They made me smile.
Help us reveal God's healing presence this Christmas. Send your message of hope at glennon.org.
Now, that is the ad that ESPN said it's just simply too objectionable for us to air. It is beneath our broadcast standards. Now, here's an executive from Glennon.org. This is a hospital, a system that provides care to sick and injured children. And here's what he had to say, his response when they got the first rejection from ESPN. Let's listen.
Well, our first denial was from the commercial operations side of ESPN, that the spot was declined and not approved for air based on their religious stand.
Oh man, we're not gonna be able to listen to any of that. Oh man, that is a shame. So all three of those clips are gone. Is that right? We can't use any of them. Oh, well, that is a huge bummer. We got a technical problem with the clips on that, so we don't have the exec responding on the part of Glennon.org about this rejection from ESPN. But ESPN made it clear when they communicated with Glennon.org. I mean, this is a facility, a network that's targeted toward helping children who are sick and injured. That's why they exist. They do it in the name of Jesus. They celebrate the birth of Jesus. As they say in the ad, we are about bringing God's healing presence to children. Well, this apparently was too much for the secular theocrats at ESPN. Remember, at ESPN, they worship the state. Government is God at ESPN. That makes any celebration of the birth of Christ, that's an act of idolatry. It's an act of blasphemy to secular theocrats. It's an act of heresy to secular theocrats. And so that voice must be punished. That voice must be silenced, just like they did in the Spanish Inquisition. This is the secular Inquisition. Now they're going after this hospital that exists to minister to the hurting children. So, they care more. Apparently they care more about punishing this act of blasphemy against the state, against the secular God, than they care about helping hurting young children. Now, what happened, there's enough of a blowback that ESPN has reversed field on this, and they're now going to let this Glennon.org, they're going to let them put their ad on ESPN. So that's very, very good news. It was only because of public pressure and reaction that they changed their tack. And the exec at Glennon.org said, look, this has really worked out to be good for us. This has worked out for us because it's given an attention to our organization, what we do that we never otherwise would have had. And so it's another example, of, what we find in the scriptures. Remember what Joseph said to his brothers in Genesis 50, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. ESPN meant it for evil, but God meant this thing for good. You and I are talking about this ad because of what ESPN did to try to censor and squash this blatant act of idolatry against secular theocrats. And there's another verse in the Psalms where God is described as the one who causes even the evil of men to praise you. So that is a winnable war moment for today. ESPN reversing field and allowing this ad that celebrates the birth of Christ. Well, let's go to the phones, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Fanny in Royce City, Texas. Fanny, welcome. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you, Brian. I do appreciate your show. I want to say that first.
Thank you very much.
I did happen to catch a glimpse of the gentleman that was talking about getting kicked off the YouTube thing. And, right away my reaction was like, well, why don't every Christian just go to GodTube instead? But then I thought, well, then is that right? Because we're taking ourselves away from the world. We're the light.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to get your take on that. Because my first reaction was that. Then my second reaction was like, well, and then is it right for us to step back? Because aren't we just kind of giving up our ground?
Yeah, well, I'm entirely with you on that, Fanny, and I think you're exactly right. And that's what's been concerning to me, because we are called to engage the culture. That's what we're called to do. Jesus said, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. If you keep your light hidden under a bushel, then the world remains in darkness. So it's our responsibility not only to have the light, but to take it out from under the bushel so it gives light to everybody in the house. You got to be out there in the house. You got to be out there in the middle of the room if your light is going to be able to be seen. If we run into our little hidey holes and pull the blankets over our heads, we may have plenty of light right in there. Our candle's burning bright, but nobody can see it. It's of no use to God's larger purposes in the world. Might keep us warm, but we're not here just for ourselves. So I believe we absolutely have to be engaged. The salt of the earth means you got to be in there mixing in with the soil. You got to be out there. You got to be in there. You can't just remain in the salt shaker. The only way we're of any use to God and his kingdom is for the salt to come out of the salt shaker and be out there arresting the spread of decay and corruption. So I believe to the degree that's possible, we ought to be right out there in the ring. It's a cage fight right now. We're involved in a culture war, and we need to be out there mixing it up. All right, listen, I appreciate that, Fanny. Thank you. And I don't have a name on the caller on line 1. Do we have a name? Ed. Let's go to Ed in Memphis, Tennessee. Ed, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Oh, it's Ann.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I was just wondering, I have not heard anything about the killing of the ambassador and the soldiers, and it's just like everything has been dropped on that. Is anything going on?
You're talking about Benghazi? No, I'm afraid that they, the administration has buried that. Had a story this week where one of the contractors that we had hired to provide security for the consulate there in Benghazi had been told by our State Department, don't talk to the media. So the Obama administration has tried to bury this thing. The Republicans and everybody else has been caught up with a lot of other issues. I mean, there's a lot of chaff in the air right now, and it's just gotten lost in the shuffle. So nobody's bird dogging this thing anymore. You know, that guy that was falsely blamed for this, for that video, he was in jail for a year. He's out on probation now, but that guy suffered in a jail cell for a year because of the lies that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton told, and nothing's been done on his behalf. I mean, that mark is still going to be on his record. So, yeah, it's a lamentable thing, and that.
Well, I think we missed our opportunity to get him impeached by letting this drop.
Well, and that's one of the, issues. I mean, in fact, we've got evidence now that Barack Obama did not send our military in because he was afraid of a repeat of the Black Hawk Down episode in Somalia. Didn't want to take a chance that something like that would happen. So again, out of timidity, he was willing to sacrifice these human lives, these American lives, because he was afraid it would make him look bad. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be right back after the news. Stay with us.
American Family Radio.
AFR Talk.
Christmas, the season that often